E.T. the Extra Terrestrial is a movie almost everyone watched as a kid. But here's a funny thing. When we were young, the movie felt magical. When we watch it as adults, it suddenly feels emotional, nostalgic, and in some moments, surprisingly painful. Why does that happen? Why does E.T. still make adults cry, even 40 years later? Let's talk about the real secret behind the emotion. First, the movie captures something very rare. It understands childhood from the inside, not from an adult trying to remember how it felt, but from a child actually living through it. The early scenes in the house, the quiet neighborhood, the way the kids talk, and the small tensions at the dinner table all feel real. There is no exaggeration, no forced comedy, just life as a child sees it. That truthfulness is a foundation of the emotional power. When adults rewatch the movie, they recognize something they have forgotten. They remember what it felt like to be small, to feel misunderstood, and to have big emotions without the words to express them. Elliott is not just acting like a child. He is a child, and that honesty makes us emotional without us even noticing. The next reason the movie hits so deeply is the feeling of loneliness. Elliott is a quiet kid in a house that feels busy, distracted, and half broken after a divorce. Nothing is said directly, but everything is felt. The empty seat at the table, the frustrated tone in his mother's voice, the older brother who does not always know how to be supportive, the little sister who is too young to understand. It is a portrait of a child who needs connection. Then E.T. appears, not as a threat or a monster, but as something scared, gentle, and lonely in his own way. Elliott sees himself in E.T., and adults see themselves in Elliott. That is why their bond feels so powerful. It is not a normal friendship. It is two isolated beings finding comfort in each other. Another emotional secret is that their connection is almost wordless. They barely speak the same language, yet they understand each other completely. That type of communication is something adults long for, even if they never say it. A relationship where you do not have to explain yourself. You just feel understood. As the story continues, the emotional stakes go up quietly, not dramatically. There are no huge battles, no villains with long speeches. Just a fear of losing someone who finally made you feel seen. This is something adults understand deeply. Life teaches us about separation, distance, and loss. So when Elliott and E.T. start to fall sick together, the movie becomes almost painful. And then there's the music. John Williams created a score that does half the emotional work without us realizing it. The music moves gently when they bond, rises slowly when hope appears, and grows into something huge and overwhelming in the final scenes. Even if you muted the dialogue, the music alone can make someone tear up. Another element that adults feel differently from children is the theme of letting go. When we were kids, we focus on the adventure. When we watch as adults, we focus on the goodbye. The farewell scene is simple, quiet, and beautifully restrained. No dramatic speeches, just acceptance. E.T. must leave. Elliott must stay. Growing up often means accepting that some relationships are temporary, no matter how important they are. That truth is what makes so many adults emotional when E.T. tells Elliott he will be right here and touches his forehead. It is the idea that someone can live in your heart, even if they can no longer stay in your life. But there is one more reason the movie hits adults so strongly. It reconnects us to a version of ourselves we no longer are. The movie is not just about an alien. It is about childhood. The kind of childhood where you could ride your bike for miles without a phone, where the neighborhood felt safe, where discovery felt possible, where imagination was real. We cry not only for Elliott and E.T. We cry for our own past, for the kid we used to be. Another thing that adds to the emotional power is the way Spielberg films a story. Almost everything is shot from a child's eye level. Adults are often out of frame or faceless in the early scenes. This keeps the story grounded in the perspective of the children. So when we, as adults, watch it now, we see the world the way we used to see it. That shift in perspective can be surprisingly moving. Even the government agents in the movie are not truly villains. Once their faces are visible, we realize they're just curious adults who lost their sense of wonder. In many ways, they represent what Elliott might become if he grows up too quickly. The subtle theme adds weight to the story for older viewers. finally, the movie works because it trusts the audience. It never explains its themes. It never overstates the emotions. It gives us space to feel. It lets reactions speak louder than words. And that silence, that simplicity, is incredibly powerful. E.T. remains emotional for adults not because we understand more, but because we have lived more. We have lost friends. We have said goodbyes. We have felt lonely. We have found comfort. And we have grown up. The movie touches all those experiences gently and honestly. So the real secret behind why E.T. still makes adults cry is this. It reminds us of a purer connection, a pure friendship, and a pure childhood we can only visit again through memories and movies. That is the power of E.T., not the spaceship, not the glowing finger, not even the flight across the moon. It is the emotion we did not understand as children and finally feel as adults.